clarify. She's probably been put in there because, according to Donald Trump, she's a 10. You know that's what it is.
I want to be clear, though. It's not her first job. It was her first press briefing. She worked in the previous Trump administration.
The popular daytime talk show is currently at the center of a legal controversy that could threaten its future. The host's recent remarks about Karoline Leavitt, the youngest White House press secretary in history, sparked a massive media firestorm, leading to a high-profile lawsuit. Known for its fiery debates and bold opinions, The View has always pushed boundaries, but this time, the outspoken panelists may have gone too far. With legal pressure mounting, the show's future now hangs in the balance as the controversy continues to unfold.
That was, she said, there will be no wokeness here.
Oh, yeah.
Let me explain something to you, because without that wokeness, you might not have that job.
Yeah.
Because women were not invited to that table. Mm-hmm. Women were not invited to many tables in this nation. The reason we fought and busted our behinds to make sure that you didn't have to worry about this. And now to hear you talk about it and to hear anybody talk about the wokeness was put in place for a reason, because black people couldn't get into colleges, because women could not get into the colleges they wanted to go to. This is all women. Yeah. See, this is not black, Asian women. This is all women. Women were not invited to this party. It was a man's world, and we busted our asses to make sure that this was a person's world. So please stop using that phrase and talking about, because you don't understand what you're saying. Mm-hmm. You're saying about yourself that, you know, hey, that's a terrible thing to be. It's not a terrible thing to be. That's why we fought. That's what we were fighting for, so that you could stand in that podium, so that Catherine Jean-Pierre could stand at that podium. So women of all kinds of colors and ilks, wherever they came from, whatever their belief system was, they had the opportunity to bust down that door.
By the way, I think she's probably been put in there because, according to Donald Trump, she's a 10. You know that's what it is.
I want to be clear, though.
Wow. During a heated debate over Leavitt's first press conference, Joy Behar, known for her confrontational approach, made a remark that many have labeled as overtly sexist. She quipped that Leavitt was likely chosen because, in Donald Trump's eyes, she's a 10, a comment that dismissed Leavitt's qualifications and reduced her appointment to her appearance. The remark quickly gained traction on social media, sparking accusations of disrespect and hypocrisy, especially given The View's advocacy for women in leadership roles. The backlash has reignited conversations about how women are judged in the public sphere.
That you saw live on this program yesterday. Joy Behar stirring the pot of controversy after saying this about Karoline.
She's probably been put in there because, according to Donald Trump, she's a 10. You know that's what it is.
Do you want to take this?
So you cannot be attractive and smart? I will try to give Joy the benefit of, well, thank you. I try to give Joy the benefit of the doubt that she didn't see that briefing, because if you saw that yesterday on numerous topics, no big binder, I think she might have had a different impression of this young woman who held her own.
I mean, you would have to give her the benefit of the doubt that she did absolutely no research or reading about anything dealing with Karoline Leavitt before she made that remark. Because Karoline Leavitt worked, I mean, she went to St. Anselm College, she worked for WMUR
Ran
TV.
for Congress?
In New Hampshire, she ran for Congress at the age of 25, put on a very good campaign. She lost by 8 or 9 points, but she still put on a good campaign. Then she was the press secretary for the Trump campaign, going on TV literally every day.
Well, heavily pregnant and a new mom.
Pregnant. Yeah, she's a new mother. And then she goes out yesterday and gives and this, again, this is speaking very objectively, because I've watched every press secretary since going back to Marlon Fitzwater. Yeah, I'm that old. And she went out there for her very first briefing at the age of 27 years old, the youngest press secretary ever, and did a terrific job of talking about what the president's agenda is.
I said to you in the commercial, there's no way 27-year-old me would have.
Despite the controversy, Leavitt has demonstrated competence and effectiveness as press secretary. Her strong performance has seemingly rattled the women of The View, with Behar not being the only one to take aim at her. Whoopi Goldberg also criticized Leavitt for her stance on wokeness during her initial briefing, pointedly stating, You wouldn't even have this job without the very wokeness that you denounce. The discussion escalated further when Goldberg and Behar engaged in a tense exchange with Leavitt, claiming she misunderstood their points and even instructing her to avoid certain words. Their remarks ignited widespread backlash, with many accusing The View of hypocrisy. Critics argued that while the show often champions female empowerment, it appeared to be tearing down a young, accomplished woman simply because of her political beliefs.
I have a thing for you. Which White House official made the decision to bar the AP reporter from the Oval Office and the diplomatic reception room last night?
Well, first of all, let me just set the record straight. It is a privilege to cover this White House. It's a privilege to be the White House press secretary. And nobody has the right to go into the Oval Office and ask the President of the United States questions. That's an invitation that is given. And there are hundreds of outlets on this campus, many of you in this room who don't have the privilege of being part of that pool every single day and getting to ask the President questions. We reserve the right to decide who gets to go into the Oval Office, and you all have credentials to be here, including the Associated Press, who is in this briefing room today.
But isn't it retaliatory in nature is the argument, because the reason that the AP was barred, which they said was because they're not using the phrase Gulf of America, they're using Gulf of Mexico in line with their standards. And so the question here is this setting a precedent that this White House will retaliate against reporters who don't use the language that you guys believe reporters should use? And how does that align with the First Amendment commitment that you were just talking about?
I was very upfront in my briefing on day one that if we feel that there are lies being pushed by outlets in this room, we are going to hold those lies accountable. And it is a fact that the body of water off the coast of Louisiana is called the Gulf of America. And I'm not sure why news outlets don't want to call it that, but that is what it is. The Secretary of Interior has made that the official designation in the Geographical Identification Name Server. And Apple has recognized that, Google has recognized that, pretty much every other outlet in this room has recognized that body of water as the Gulf of America, and it's very important to this administration that we get that right, not just for people here at home, but also for the rest of the world. Sure.
Social media exploded with reactions. One user remarked if a Republican had made a similar comment about a liberal woman, they'd be crucified. Another criticized Goldberg and Behar for reducing Leavitt's achievements to her looks instead of acknowledging her qualifications. The backlash painted the hosts as attempting to discredit a woman who had earned her position through merit rather than appearance. The controversy escalated further when news broke that Leavitt had filed a defamation lawsuit against Goldberg and Behar, alleging that their comments had harmed her professional reputation. The high-stakes case, reportedly worth millions, sent shockwaves through daytime television.
Trump, I would say since Trump been in office, he's had women as the press secretary, except for Sean Spicer, because he started in, I forget her name, from Arkansas, Huckabee Sanders. Sean Spicer, Huckabee Sanders. Then the next, he had what's his name, Miller, fill in a couple times. But then he had another female, and then the first press secretary he has this time is a female. Like, where are they getting this from? The word woke, I feel like Whoopi, she need to fire everybody that produced this show. Whoopi, you don't know what woke means. Woke has nothing to do with civil rights. Constitutional civil rights. Woke has nothing to do with a meritocracy. Woke is people doing extra stuff and putting people in places that are not qualified because of the color of their skin or whatever is between their legs. Whoopi, you don't know what you're talking about. And they say it with a straight face. Matter of fact, you the reason why, for the longest, women couldn't be in these positions. Imagine you being the press secretary. You know how silly you are? Then y'all got a show full of women that's silly. Y'all women make people reconsider, should women even be doing this?
As the lawsuit gained traction, The View hosts scrambled to control the damage. They delivered a tearful on-air apology, seemingly in an effort to smooth things over. Goldberg and Behar appeared emotional, with Behar's voice shaking as she stated, "We deeply regret our remarks and any harm they may have caused." However, many viewers remained unconvinced, seeing the apology as a legal necessity rather than a genuine expression of remorse. One skeptical viewer commented, "They're not sorry for what they said, they're just sorry they got caught."
I do like what you're saying, Alyssa, about the lack of messaging. There's no message discipline here. But I love the way she handled it. Because back in the day, you know, journalists in the days of, like, let's say, Walter Cronkite and
people wouldn't have done that to Walter.
People wouldn't have done that, but or Peter Jennings. You know, you always saw and gave opportunity for both sides. It was what journalism was. I think Lester Holt said it best. Our world is different now. Mm-hmm. We're in the world of alternative facts, as created by our favorite person, Kellyanne Conway. And when he was receiving the Edward R. Murrow Award for Lifetime Achievement in 2021, he said this. He said, "I think it's become clear that fairness is overrated. The idea that we should always give two sides equal weight and merit does not reflect the world we find ourselves in. Decisions to not give unsupported arguments equal time are not a dereliction of journalistic responsibility or some kind of agenda. In fact, it's just the opposite. Our duty is to be fair to the truth." And that's what she was doing. She was being fair to the truth. She was trying to get to the facts. She refused to get to the facts. She instead wanted to sort of, it was ad hominem attacks. And when that happens, you cut the mic. You cut the mic, and that's what she did.
Well, you know, listen. If you don't have anything to say, you blab. You just go on and 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 on. Right. That's what you hear.
Yeah.
When they don't have anything to hold you with, nothing to make you think about what they have to say, they talk at you, not to you. And that's what she was doing. And she was doing it, and it's not new.
Meanwhile, at just 27 years old, Leavitt had already made a strong impression during her first White House briefing, defending her political stance with confidence. While her performance was praised by supporters, her The View appearance sparked a media firestorm, further cementing her as a polarizing figure in the political landscape. As the controversy unfolded, speculation mounted that The View could face cancellation due to the financial strain of the lawsuit and the damage to its reputation. Behind the scenes, tensions were reportedly running high, with producers scrambling to contain the fallout. Some even suggested that Bihar, long one of the show's most polarizing figures, might be ousted in a last-ditch effort to salvage the program.
Karoline Leavitt is taking on The View in a massive $500 million lawsuit, and the media world is on edge, according to this massive rumor.
Media are now unloading all their nasty attacks on rising Trump White House star and new press secretary, Karoline Leavitt.
It all started when Sunny Hostin accused Leavitt of being a political pawn, while Joy Behar claimed she only got her job because of her looks.
She's probably been put in there because, according to Donald Trump, she's a 10.
The attacks weren't just political, they were personal. Now, Leavitt is fighting back, arguing these false claims destroyed her reputation. If she wins, it could change media forever. You can watch the full video by clicking here.
Adding another layer to the drama were reports of a growing personal feud between Behar and Leavitt. Sources close to the situation claimed that Leavitt was deeply hurt by Behar's remarks and had no plans to back down. She was allegedly considering additional legal action specifically targeting Behar's comments. Meanwhile, Behar was said to be enraged by the backlash, feeling unfairly singled out and blaming others for the controversy rather than taking accountability. Behind the scenes, Behar reportedly refused to acknowledge any wrongdoing, instead attributing the uproar to external factors. This only escalated tensions, with the once cohesive dynamic among the hosts appearing more fractured than ever. The fallout from the incident has left The View in a precarious position, raising serious questions about the show's future and the relationships between its hosts. As the lawsuit continues to unfold, the pressure to restore its public image and secure its place on the airwaves has never been greater.
Thank you. And one more. On media coverage of this executive order and the topic in general, what's the White House's view of framing that calls men transgender females or similar rhetoric coming from organizations like the ACLU and GLAAD?
Well, it's been very clear. The policy of this administration is that there are only two sexes, male and female. Pretty simple. Brian Glenn.
Yes. While Karoline Leavitt has maintained a composed public demeanor, insiders suggest she is quietly strategizing with legal and media advisors to ensure her perspective is heard. Speculation is growing that she may even leverage the controversy to launch her own media initiative, potentially a podcast or a platform addressing the challenges young professionals face in politics. One insider noted, "She's not just defending herself, she's building a brand." Meanwhile, Joy Behar's inner circle has reportedly urged her to remain silent on the matter, but she is resisting. Sources indicate that Behar sees Leavitt as exploiting the situation for publicity and is frustrated by her portrayal as the antagonist in the media. Known for her outspokenness, Behar's refusal to step back appears to be fueling the controversy rather than quelling it.
Voters do not agree with these despicable women on The View. They are wildly out of touch with the vast majority of Americans, and frankly, they should seek immediate help because voters are going to re-elect President Trump back to the White House very soon because voters see these trials that are being brought forward against President Trump for what they are. They are sham show trials. They are election interference in an attempt to imprison President Trump. And the irony in all of this is that Joe Biden and the Democrats and these ladies on The View constantly say President Trump is the alleged threat to democracy, when in fact they themselves are wishfully thinking that President Trump will be imprisoned when he has not been convicted of any crimes. That is the real threat to democracy. Voters see that, and that's why President Trump continues his dominance in the polls, not just with Republicans and independents, but he's also picking up historic gains with Democrat constituencies such as African Americans, Hispanic Americans, and union workers.
Well, Biden. Tensions among The View's hosts continue to rise. Alyssa Farah Griffin, a former Trump aide, is said to be displeased with how the situation has been handled, advocating for a more measured and respectful approach. However, whispers of a brewing civil war on the panel suggest that Behar and Goldberg remain defiant, unwilling to soften their stance. If the lawsuit drags on, it could further divide the group, potentially fracturing the show's dynamic beyond repair. Goldberg, too, is facing mounting criticism, particularly over her comments on wokeness, which many found dismissive and out of touch. For Leavitt, however, the controversy may ultimately work to her advantage. The media attention has already elevated her profile, positioning her as a rising voice in political discourse. As the situation unfolds, she appears to be capitalizing on the moment, using it to expand her influence in both political and media circles.
That you saw live on this program yesterday. Joy Behar stirring the pot of controversy after saying this about Karoline.
She's probably been put in there because, according to Donald Trump, she's a 10. You know that's what it is.
Do you want to take this?
So you cannot be attractive and smart? I will try to give Joy the benefit of, well, thank you. I try to give Joy the benefit of the doubt that she didn't see that briefing, because if you saw that yesterday on numerous topics, no big binder, I think she might have had a different impression of this young woman who held her own.
I mean, you would have to give her the benefit of the doubt that she did absolutely no research or reading about anything dealing with Karoline Leavitt before she made that remark. Because Karoline Leavitt worked, I mean, she went to St. Anselm College, she worked for WMUR
Ran
TV.
for Congress.
In New Hampshire, she ran for Congress at the age of 25, put on a very good campaign. She lost by 8 or 9 points, but she still put on a good campaign. Then she was the press secretary for the Trump campaign, going on TV literally every day.
Well, heavily pregnant and a new mom.
Pregnant. Yeah, she's a new mother. And then she goes out yesterday and gives and this, again, this is speaking very objectively, because I've watched every press secretary since going back to Marlon Fitzwater. Yeah, I'm that old. And she went out there for her very first briefing at the age of 27 years old, the youngest press secretary ever, and did a terrific job of talking about what the president's agenda
I said to you in the commercial, there's no way 27-year-old me would have.
The real question now is whether The View can withstand the fallout, or if this controversy signals the beginning of the end for the long-running show. With Leavitt's lawsuit looming and tensions among the hosts reaching a boiling point, the show's future hangs in the balance. Will it maintain its place in daytime television, or will it become yet another casualty of the growing political divide? One thing is certain, this scandal is far from over. Its impact will likely ripple through the media landscape for some time, with Karoline Leavitt not just making headlines, but reshaping the narrative entirely. What do you think? Should The View be held accountable for its remarks? Or is the backlash an overreaction? Let us know in the comments below. Like and subscribe to the channel for more updates like this.